Well, it's me again, Stormy Writer, and first off, happy Father's Day. It made me think about the representations that I have of fathers in my published and unpublished work, stuff that I'm still working on, and I thought I'd do a little kind of video about that. So looking first then at the works that I have published, and that would be Bloodbound. So the whole story pivots around the death of Pandora Wixon's father. His death then brings forward the fact that he's been keeping a secret, that he is a vampire hunter. Although the character dies pretty much in the opening of the book, we do learn a lot about him throughout the book through a diary that is found. We know that Roger Wixon is a good, kind man. He had to put up with a lot of disappointment and abuse from his wife, who wasn't happy that he was a vampire hunter, the fact that he was never around, and that made her very, very bitter towards him. You also hear how he's had to keep secrets, not only the identity of the fact that he is a vampire hunter, he has to protect his family from that, but also other secrets. The fact that he's actually speaks to the puppet master and has never actually killed him, and how the complexity of being a vampire hunter and the connections that come out through the Wixon family and the puppet master, which I'm not going to go into too many spoilers here. We do know though that despite everything, Roger was a loving father when he could to his only daughter. This is why it's such a catalyst for Pandora when he dies. Even though she's a woman in her early 30s, she's been pretty much sheltered by her father all her life. And his death, I don't want to say he was a shadow on her life, because that sounds like a negative, but she's finally out into the light. She's finding her own identity, and it turns out that her own identity is also a vampire hunter. In the book of the same series, Blood Brother, which I'm still currently working on, we also have another death of a father, again for one of the main characters, this character being Strong Man. Now, unlike Bloodbound, where the death is a catalyst for the story, and Pandora becoming a vampire hunter herself, Strong Man is already a vampire hunter and has been for several years. It was actually the death of his girlfriend that was the catalyst for him to become a rogue vampire hunter. As is established in Bloodbound, vampire hunters tend to follow family lines, and Wixon is one of the oldest and strongest vampire hunting lines. So when there are vampire hunters that don't belong to these bloodlines, they're not acknowledged as vampire hunters. They're seen as rogue, and Strongman and his partner, his vampire partner, not necessarily his partner, although there is intimacy between the two, they're seen as rogue outsiders. In Blood Brother, the death is kind of more of a closing of a chapter for Strong Man. Again, not necessarily living in the shadow of his father, but his father was again a very strong influence to him, and he feels a sense of freedom, because like like Roger had to do for his daughter, Strongman has had to hide the fact that he is a vampire hunter from his family. So the death of his father is one less person he has to lie to. I mean, for him, he's had to move out of his own homeland. He's had to leave a lot of bitterness behind, whereas Pandora's had quite a sheltered life. Strong Man hasn't. He has had to face life full on, brutally, and the harsh environment, because he in Blood Brother, the Blood Brother part is a reference to that camaraderie that you have in military, and Strongman is an ex-soldier from Belfast. So you can imagine the things that he has seen and witnessed. That power and that deceit is what drives him as a vampire hunter. So in the two sort of Bloodbound books, or blood series books, Bloodbound and Blood Brother, obviously we lose the fathers very, very early on. In one of the unpublished short stories that I've written, which I'm hoping to put into a collection of short stories, the father figure is a serial killer. So you see a kind of progression from his very first kill as a teenager, right through to, you know, his adult life, through to his, you know, early 40s, 50s, and, you know, we see him right through to the end. He is a particularly nasty character. He kills his stepsister, that's the first person that he murders, but makes it look like a suicide. He has sexual tastes that are not of the norm. He also uses his career to kill people. But the most shocking is when he murders one of his own twin daughters, because he believes that she is dumb. She's the thick twin, and he doesn't want to be associated with this abnormal child, and so he kills her. And there's a twist to that as well, which I'm not going to again spoil. But as a father figure, to kill your own baby child, I mean, killing children is horrific, whether they're, you know, your own child, whether they're teenagers, you know, primary school. But there's something quite unnerving about somebody who kills their own baby child in the cot. It's quite a horrific scene. And funny enough, it's one that tends to jar a lot with people, which is part of the reason why it's not been able to be published elsewhere. So what about the future? What about the other fathers? I don't know. There tends to be a theme that they either die very, very early, or they're not very nice people. Now, this is no reflection on my own childhood. I had a very, very loving father, maybe slightly absent in the sense that he's of that generation where they worked, you know, Monday to Friday. They'd be gone to work before I got up in the morning. They were coming home after I'd gone to bed at night, or, you know, or not long before I went to bed. But he certainly made up for it in the times that we did spend together. So I don't know why I feel the need for these fathers to be absent when the father in my own life wasn't necessarily as absent as they are in the books. Will I have maybe a character who is a father and a good guy? I don't know. There are hints that potentially the puppet master might be a father, and that could be explored in other books. You know, having a vampire as a father, that could be a very, very interesting dynamic. But that's in the third book, and I haven't finished the second one yet, so I haven't really delved too much into that at the moment. There's like I said, the collection of short stories. At the moment, with what I've planned. There's no more fathers appearing in them, but again, who knows what happens in the future. So anyway, from my point of view, my writing career, the fathers are deceased and serial killers. So happy Father's Day, everybody. But yeah, that's all for me now. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll speak to you guys again soon.